Welcome to Studio Movie Recap. Ready for another quick rundown of an awesome movie? Let's dive right in, and if you enjoy, don't forget to like and subscribe for more recaps. The movie begins with Terry Richmond, a former military veteran, cycling on the road, listening to music, but he is abruptly hit by a police car. Officer Evan Marston, alongside his partner Officer Steve Lawn, handcuffed Terry, claiming they attempted to stop him, but he didn't comply. Terry explains that he didn't hear them due to his headphones, but the officers don't back down and start questioning Terry, asking personal questions about his identity. Officer Evan searches Terry's backpack and discovers a package. He asks Terry for permission to open the package, but Terry declines. They detain Terry and call for a K-9 unit to investigate the package. Evan informs Terry that the unit will take an hour to arrive, but since Terry is in a rush, he allows them to search the package. The officers discover a large sum of cash in the bag, suspecting it to be drug money. Terry insists it's not drug money, but his own, which he intended to use for his cousin's bail at the courthouse. Officer Steve estimates the cash to be nearly $30,000 and questions why Terry's cousin is in jail. Terry reveals that $10,000 is for the bail, and the rest is to purchase a truck for hauling boats. His cousin, Mike, was incarcerated for possessing marijuana, but he wasn't selling it. Despite Terry's explanations, the officers decide to let him go but confiscate the money, suspecting it's tied to illegal activities. Terry defends himself by explaining that he sold his car and invested in a restaurant called Kenlong Chinese. Evan informs Terry that they'll be holding the money and he can retrieve it after 30 days, once the paperwork is done. Otherwise, he could face jail time for money laundering. Terry begrudgingly complies, and the officers leave. Terry picks up his bike and rides to the courthouse, where he meets a clerk named Elliot. Terry asks Elliot to post his cousin's bail, but Elliot refuses because Terry no longer has any money. Elliot also reveals that the jail is under renovation, and all prisoners, including Mike, are being transferred to state prison. Elliot ends his shift, leaving Terry frustrated and worried about his cousin's safety. Elliot introduces Terry to his coworker, Summer McBride, a court clerk who is also studying to become a lawyer, to assist him. Summer and Terry go for a drink, where Summer explains how the local police department uses sneaky legal methods to seize money from people, and if the individuals fail to reclaim it legally, the police keep it under the guise of funds. Terry reveals that Mike helped catch dangerous criminals by providing information, and if Mike is transferred to state prison, he could be targeted by other prisoners. Mike's transfer is scheduled for Thursday, so Summer suggests that Terry gather more money quickly to post bail and save Mike. Terry contacts Mr. Liu, the owner of the Chinese restaurant, and asks for $10,000. Liu agrees to transfer the money in a few hours. Later that night, Terry tracks down the police department where the officers who detained him work, and the next day, he files a robbery report to Officer Jessica Sims, describing the suspects as Officer Evan and Steve. Officer Steve arrives and halts the report, accusing Terry of fabricating a crime. The department's chief, Sandy Byrne, steps in and sides with his officers, telling Terry to leave. Terry makes an offer to Sandy, proposing that he can keep his money if he just returns the bail money. Greedy, Sandy agrees. Terry also requests to see his cousin before the transfer, and Sandy tells him to come at 9 a.m. on Thursday. On Thursday, Terry arrives, only to find that the prisoner's bus has already departed because Sandy deliberately moved the schedule forward. Terry rushes to the bus and advises Mike to ask for protective custody upon arriving at the state prison. Terry seeks Summer's help again, and she informs him that she found incriminating information on the corrupt officers, including involvement from the courthouse judge. She explains that Terry needs to bring the bail money to Elliot's desk quickly. Terry returns to the police station, confronts Chief Sandy, and threatens him, but Officer Steve intervenes, leading to a confrontation. Terry disarms them both, handcuffs them with Jessica's cuffs, and takes her to the evidence room, where he finds a stash of weapons and money. He retrieves his cash but only takes the $10,000, honoring his initial agreement, and leaves the rest for the officers. Terry tells Jessica to pretend to cuff him and drive him out without raising suspicion. She complies, drops him off at a safe location, and then issues a police alert for Terry. He rushes back to the courthouse and gives the money to Elliot. Summer tries to get the judge to sign off on the bail, but the police swarm the courthouse and arrest Terry. They take him to the courthouse catacombs for a medical checkup, where Evan escorts him to meet with Chief Sandy. They pick up Sandy and drive away. During the drive, Sandy admits they made a mistake messing with Terry after looking into his background. They stop at a hospital, where Sandy gives Terry his remaining cash and tells him to stay quiet, warning that if he doesn't, they could imprison him for 30 years for attacking officers. Sandy also reveals that Mike was assaulted in prison and is now being flown to the hospital. Devastated, Terry agrees to the deal. He visits Mike's hospital room, only to find that Mike didn't survive. Terry, now heartbroken, asks Summer for a ride back to his town. Along the way, they are tailed by a police officer, who Summer reveals is a friend looking out for her. Summer tries to explain that more cases like Mike's need to be exposed, but Terry, overwhelmed, ignores her. He gives her his number for emergencies before saying goodbye. Later, Summer wakes up in the middle of the night to find that someone has broken into her home and drugged her. She notices a police magnet on her fridge, realizing that the cops are behind it. She calls Terry, and he rushes to her house. He breaks in and finds her in the shower, still alive. Summer reveals she's fine because the cops had injected her with a drug she used to take earlier in her life. She had a daughter and lost custody due to her history with drugs. She worries that she has been pardoned to meet her daughter for now, but if they test her tomorrow, she might lose custody forever. Terry tells her not to worry and sends Summer to her job. Unexpectedly, the judge wants to meet with Summer and insists on her being tested for drugs, signaling that he is working with the police. Summer is terrified but complies. She gives her urine sample and cries, knowing her fate. On the other hand, Terry runs into Officer Steve, who gathers his partners to block the streets. Terry complies, but Steve shoots him for returning to the town. Terry gets injured but fights back. He tases Steve with his gun and drives away into the fields. Terry then abandons his truck and walks to his Chinese hotel, where he contacts Summer, asking for burner phones. Summer arrives at the restaurant with the phones and finds Terry injured, while Mr. Liu tends to him. Terry and Summer devise a plan to gather evidence against the cops so they can bring them down. They go incognito and break into the judge's house. They question the judge about the corruption in the police force, and he reveals that he's been collaborating with Sandy for quite some time. Cy's department was lacking funds, so he illegally obtained funds by conducting unlawful searches and processing the procedures through the court, where defendants had to fight for their money, but they'd lose every time. The judge was involved because he was benefiting financially, and the state made it legal because parts of the money would go to government funding. The cops would conduct traffic stops, which would turn aggressive, just like Terry's experience at the beginning of the film. These searches were being recorded on the cops' dash cams, which could serve as evidence to reveal the corruption. Terry and Summer decide to steal the footage, which is stored in the courthouse's catacombs. They enter the courthouse and discover that the police are already ahead of them. The officers ignite a fire to destroy the evidence room, but Summer extinguishes the fire. They swiftly steal the memory cards and reignite the fire to prevent suspicion. Terry heads to the car and waits for Summer as she goes to retrieve her urine sample. Unfortunately, she is captured by the officers. Terry waits outside and witnesses the cops kidnapping her. He follows them to a shady location, where they split up and leave one cop behind. Terry drives into the cop's car, chokes him, and then handcuffs him for questioning. Terry uses the cop's radio to negotiate with Sandy. Sandy offers a trade, Summer for the memory cards. Terry agrees, so Sandy instructs him to meet at Rebel Ridge by dawn. Sandy's men wait at Rebel Ridge until morning, but Terry doesn't show up. Meanwhile, Sandy receives a call from Terry while Officer Evan believes he has located Terry's vehicle. Terry informs Sandy that there's no turning back now. On the other hand, Officer Evan realizes that Terry wasn't in the car. Officer McGill was taped to the vehicle by Terry. In reality, Terry is at the police department, where he rips open the back wall of Cy's department. Officer Jessica alerts the other cops of Terry's whereabouts, so they return to the station. Back at the station, the greedy Sandy quickly makes his way to the money, but Terry is in the armory loading weapons. He shoots Sandy with beanbag rounds instead of bullets. Jessica arrives, and Terry cooperates because Jessica is the friend Summer had mentioned. Terry places his trust in Jessica and gives her the memory cards, telling her to release them. He confiscates Cy's arsenal, but Cy's men arrive outside. Terry hands a loaded gun to Jessica to cover him and begins piling up Cy's money, preparing to pour gasoline on it. Jessica betrays Terry and tells him she doesn't want any shooting, so she takes him outside. Officer Steve confronts Terry and stomps on the memory cards. Steve reveals that he knocked Summer unconscious so they can shoot Terry now without any witnesses. Officer Evans, realizing the error of their ways, steps in to protect Terry. They all point their guns at each other, but Sandy shoots Evans in the leg and takes away his weapon. Terry looks at Jessica, who lowers her gun, so he makes a run for it with Evans. They take cover behind a car and Terry throws smoke grenades at Sandy's men. Evans instructs Terry to turn on the car's dash cams, and in 3 minutes, the footage will go live. Terry systematically incapacitates the cops one by one, but refrains from killing them. He comes across Steve and takes his revenge for shooting him. Terry then enters Steve's car, where Summer is lying, and activates the dash cams. He drives the car toward Evans and rescues him. They flee from the station, but Steve manages to hold onto the car. He attempts to climb into the back, but Summer pushes him off onto the road. Sandy and his men pursue them, along with Jessica. Jessica crashes Sandy's car, allowing Terry to escape. Terry drives to the hospital, where Summer and Evans are admitted into the emergency ward. Terry rips out the camera storage drive from the car and keeps it, intending to expose Sandy. The movie concludes here. Did you enjoy the recap? Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to be updated next time we drop. Thanks for watching.